Good morning, Palmdale. This is the CGS News with you. Today we are going to start off by giving you guys the weather. Let's go to Cecilia.
Okay, so today down in the valley it's going to be a bit chilly of 54 degrees with 10 miles per hour wind, but the weekend looks like it's going to be so nice and sunny all day. Wait, what? What are you talking about? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to cut the weather here because we have some breaking news. So back to Genesis in the studio.
Okay, thank you, Cecilia, for that short weathercast. And now we have breaking news on the Gregg versus Georgia case. Now let's take a look at what's happening. On November 21st, 1973, Troy Leon Gregg and a companion were hitchhiking in Florida and were given a ride by two men. A day later, the bodies of the two men were found. The men had been shot and robbed. The U.S. Supreme Court heard this case on March 31st, 1976. As I was saying, 8 months later, after the Supreme Court heard this case, and 3 years after the incident, on July 2nd, 1976, Troy Leon Gregg was convicted for the murder and armed robbery and sentenced to death. But it wasn't that easy for Gregg. Gregg argued that this was a violation of his 8th and 14th Amendment. The Supreme Court was trying to figure out does the death penalty for murder go against the 8th and 14th Amendment? And the decision was it does not violate anything. Finally, in a 7-2 vote on the jury, 7 in favor of Gregg being guilty, which were Berger, Stewart, White, Bagman, Powell, Rehnquist, Stevens, and 2 in favor of him not being guilty was Marshall and Brennan. On July 2nd, 1976, they came to the decision that no, it did not violate the two amendments. Based off of a careful examination of the case and evidence and the facts that it was an extreme criminal case, they concluded the death penalty would be Gregg's sentencing. The court didn't overrule capital punishment, partly because they found it as useful discouragement for in the future with crimes at this level or more serious levels. The case did not change the interpretation of the law in the 8th Amendment because when the sentencing decision is made, the crimes must be equal to the punishment. And now that we heard some facts on the Gregg versus Georgia case, let's hear an opinion on this. And now let's welcome Sam. Hello. Hi. How are you? Good. Okay. Now on this Gregg versus Georgia case, do you think it was fair for them to give the death sentence?
I think it was fair because he did murder those people. He didn't have to, but that's what he did, so he deserved like an eye for an eye.
Okay. Do you think the jury was right when they said that the 8th and 14th Amendment didn't violate anything?
Yes, because the Eighth Amendment is when they get a sentencing that is cruel and unusual for what they did. That obviously didn't violate that amendment, and he did get his civil rights, but he just committed something wrong.
For the last question today, when you heard about the Gregg versus Georgia case, how did you feel?
I was devastated since yet again another murder has happened in this country. There has not been a week where a murder hasn't happened, or one or two. So it's really sad when you hear these news.
Thank you. And this is Jenna Salafaro signing off with CGS News with you.